Okay, so good morning everyone and welcome back in the class today. We are on the day number 10. Okay, till now what we discussed, just have a recap of after the break here. Let me put it clear like this. Okay, so if we talk from the agenda perspective, we started from the day where we discuss about what is value, why it is be required, why business is looking for the value, what value mean by a business analyst, and what is the business analysis at point of time. The role of the BA, skill set we see, and after that on the main area we discuss about the enterprise analysis. That how I need to be understand the business so that I can support them. That is much required. And to do that part, we say that we have to be create or maintain the business architecture, that where I can put, how I can put the requirements as specific. It's not about the requirement now. It is little about of the business side only. Then we do, if any customer says, or if I think that let this is my need, this is my requirement, how I can conduct the feasibility study. Then we define a small project. Okay, this project I'm going to be work, then business case, risk assessment, launching a project, managing the value. And in this area, the actual BA work has been started. Requirement planning and management. It means before I go to gather my requirement from the customer, from the client, from the stakeholder, I need to be understand, I need to be do some prerequisites before that. So under this, we first of all we understand that what is the requirement, what are the type of requirement, and what is the characteristic of a requirement. That is a SMART: specific, measurable, achievable, reliable, relatable, and time bounding. We will discuss this concept again in the upcoming, in the maybe today's tomorrow day. Then we understand, if I want to be gather the requirement, I need to be understand who are my stakeholders involved in that requirements. Who is my project manager, who is my QA, who is my architect, because later on I need those people support to do that part. After that we discuss about that, if I'm going for a client side for a requirement gathering, I'm going for a requirement gathering, how I can break down their strategy, where we discuss about we can break the work into the multiple parameters like SMS part, data modeling specific, or I can say complex specific. We can do that part. We define the risk approach. If any case, if anything goes wrong in the gathering, requirement gathering, then how it can be taken care, what points are to be considered for the planning, then how or what are the requirement activities, requirement allocation, documentation, solutioning parts, all this come here. And at last we saw about the estimations of the requirement and then manage the requirement scope. Today we are going to be discuss the next two part. So it is something, these two things are basically at the last, or the last steps in this particular aspect. Means these two are the nails in the coffin before you kick off your journey to gather the requirement. Now let's say that Atul, I'm traveling to one of my friend's marriage. So once you complete these two steps, the next day you are ready for the travel. These are the things you have to be do. As the name indicate, it says measure and report on the requirement activity. भाई देखो, अब आप requirement gathering के लिए चले गए. ठीक है, let's example, आप requirement gathering, you are doing the requirement gathering. Now how you will measure that मेरा in my requirement gathering, the first step is to allocate the requirement. How you measure that part, how you report that part, because if you remember that here also one more thing which we done, the measuring part, right? Managing the project value. How you manage the project value? You do the regular follow up, you do the regular meetings. In this also you have some parameters which help you to identify, to measure the requirement, that how I can measure the requirement, that this much percentage has been done, this much percentage has been not done. And at last we will discuss about the manage the requirement change. It is something, if my customer says later on, sorry guys, I need one more requirement to be added in this phase one, how you are going to be scope, how you are going to be manage that part. ऐसा नहीं है हाँ भाई भेज दे मैं कर लूंगा, नहीं. There is a way to do that part. So we're going to be discuss these 2 points today, and I'll come into my presentation here. So this says measure and report on the requirement activity. What this red quote say here, in 1995 Standish group of study found that only 16% of the IT project were successful. Over 31 were cancelled before completion, which cost $81 billion in the US alone. It means something goes wrong during the planning itself, which later on convert the failure rate is 31%. Now if we understand that भाई मैं तो सबको पढ़ा रहा हूं लेकिन फिर भी मेरे स्टूडेंट्स फेल क्यों हो रहे हैं, क्योंकि ड्यूरिंग माय ट्रेनिंग आई डिड नॉट डू द मेजरमेंट एंड द रिपोर्टिंग पार्ट. गाइस समझ में आ रहा है कि नहीं आ रहा है? आई एम नॉट टेकिंग एनी टेस्ट. सो दिस इज व्हाई वी हैव अ क्लास टेस्ट एक्टिविटी इन आवर स्कूल्स, to make sure that when the final exam happen, I need 99.99% result in my class. To do that part, we have to follow the measurement criteria. Some reporting you have to be do. So what it says specifically, it is suggested from the high failure rate of many projects. So many projects that many don't effectively keep track of metrics of their team and products. Metrics means the measurement parameters, the methods. Nobody take care it properly. If you remember that we discussed about the governance in our one of the discussions, that I have 3 level of governance. It is like a governance for me. Until unless I will not measure my performance activities, I cannot say that I'm on the track or not. भाई अगर आप एक ट्रेन पकड़ने में आधा घंटा लेट हो गए तो डेफिनेटली आपकी अगली ट्रेन भी आधा घंटा लेट होगी ही होगी. सो ओवरऑल आपका पूरा ट्रिप लेट हो जाएगा. बट वी डोंट मेजर. हम क्या कहते हैं, ठीक है ना, कोई नहीं, अगली बस पकड़ लेंगे, अगली ट्रेन पकड़ लेंगे. सो दैट इज अ रॉन्ग, what I can say, that is a wrong assumption we have in our mind. The reason for increase in the successful project vary. Very important point. First, the average cost of project has been more than the cut in half. Better tools have been created to monitor it. Bhai, they are saying, as per the BA box, they are saying that boss, if you monitor, if you measure your requirement activity, you can cut down the project cost by half. In short, everything depends on your planning. There's a saying in our industry that spend a time in planning, it will save your defect rates as well. अगर आपका प्लानिंग गलत है तो आपका डिफेक्ट रेट बहुत ज्यादा आएगा, क्योंकि आपने बिना प्लान के कुछ भी बनाना शुरू कर दिया. When you plan without planning, you're starting anything working, definitely on the later on it will be a more costly for you. But fixing issue at the later size will be cost more than the taking time in the beginning only. Better tools have been created to monitor and control progress. Better skilled project measures with the better process. In short, it says, boss, you follow any method, Excel sheet, Jira, ServiceNow, any tool you pick up. The only point is that you should able to answer few of the questions which we mentioned here. Are we on schedule? How you measure it? If you did not measure it after within the 3 months of your requirement activity, maybe when you actually measure, you find I'm already failed. How are we doing compared to the budget? Every time, every month there is a budget review meeting happen. भाई अब आप लोग तो चले गए ऑन साइट, आपको बोला जाओ आप चले गए, आपको तो मजे हो गए भाई मैं ऑन साइट गया हूँ. बट द प्रॉब्लम इज दैट हाउ द पीएम इज मेकिंग श्योर दैट इट हैज बीन कंप्लीटली इन द बजट. वहां जाओगे, मुझे कैब भी चाहिए, मुझे खाना भी चाहिए, मुझे पर डीम्स भी चाहिए. सो दैट इज अगेन एवरीथिंग गोइंग फ्रॉम द बजट इटसेल्फ. वी हैव टू ट्रैक दैट पार्ट. What is the quality of the product? By the product which I build till now. Product means the requirement gathering I built till now is 100% clear or all rubbish now. And do we have enough people assigned to the project? So these are the 3 or 4 questions which should be answered via the metric. There should be some technique which answer these questions, and these are not the limited one. You can say where we are on the risk management. risk requirement, sorry, risk allocation or risk, what I can say, mitigation as well. But agar if you raise a risk on the day one and you are on the near about the after 6 months, you're still on the same path, on the same row on that risk. It means it is a problem for the in the upcoming days. Now, if I come here, how we can evaluate, sorry. So how we can do that part? It is nothing new which I'm telling you. The simple point is that they are saying that every project has a life cycle. Initiation, execution, development, sorry, initiation, planning, execution, implementation, and finally closure part. In every phase of the project, every phase of the product, we should do this measurement. By sprint demos जो होती हैं, the every 15 days the sprint demo happen. What is that? That is one of kind of the measurement criteria, measurement parameter for me. That what we discussed before 2 weeks, are we able to deliver that in the 2 weeks or not? Okay, so accordingly, there is a natural division in the kinds of metrics. Determine, collect, and report. You have to be checked that what I want to be gather, what I want to be measure. You cannot measure each and everything. कि भाई सूरज को ऑफिस जाने में कितना टाइम लगता है, 2 घंटे क्यों लगता है उसको, नहीं, you cannot measure that part. But you have to measure that if I'm allocating a task to Suraj, set of tasks to Suraj, he's able to do that part. I want to measure that things. To measure that, you have to be collect the data, and then you have to be build up a report. Weekly reports, monthly reports. What is that? That is a measurement of the project. If you give that work to any of the fresher, उसके लिए बोरिंग होगा, क्या है यार, पता नहीं, मुझे नहीं समझ में आ रहा क्या परसेंटेज है, मुझे बोले इसमें फिगर्स डाल दो. But if you ask the same thing to a manager or the senior manager, he know the meaning of that report. And to do that part, they are saying we have to follow the 2 matrices. Again, your goal should be aligned with the project goal. In the same manner, your metrics should be aligned with the project metrics. What is called the project metrics? Which we do on the cost, effort, schedule, risk, and resources. And there is a product metrics, which we take as a defect, performance, size, how big my requirement is now, how big is my product to do that part. I am able to do end-to-end testing every release, or I have to be put some specific test cases now. So these are the 2 major areas they say as per the BA box, but it is again not limited. Let me come here. Now if I take example, let's say Suraj. I say Suraj and Hitesh, go and talk to the customer and get the requirement. So you guys have to follow these as well for the reporting part. After 10 days, when you come back, I say, okay, Suraj, what is how much, or Hitesh, how much requirement gathering has been completed? अतुल पता नहीं, हम तो हुआ है बस, आपने बोला जाओ, हम हुआ है. Then how you will measure it? That have you done your work or not? ये थोड़ा ना 10 दिन आप गए टाइम पास करके आगे. It's not like that. So what they're saying, a suggested sequence of steps for the BA includes the following. Determine the relevant metrics for the requirement activities. Like now when I say requirement, determine the relevant metrics. So what we have activities, requirement activities, requirement allocation, requirement analysis, requirement documentation. ये आपके 3 अलग-अलग activities हैं. अब इनको measure करना है आपको, उसके लिए आपके पास कुछ set of parameters होने चाहिए. Now if I say requirement allocation, how much time I'm spending on each requirement in a workshop. Let's get an average part. How many are the simple requirements in that area? Now documentation. If I take a documentation part, requirement documentation, how many requirements need a end-to-end workflow as well? क्योंकि उसमें आपको time ज़्यादा लगेगा. How many requirements are not clear from the user perspective, end user perspective, or from the customer side itself? So that are the matrices you have to be thinking. And it's saying relevant metrics. Don't go for irrelevant. अरे नहीं, मुझे बताओ यार, कस्टमर के साथ जब मैं जाता हूँ चाय पे कितना टाइम लगाता है? It is irrelevant for you. It is not going to be help you somewhere in the activity. And after that, when you decide this relevant matrices, how matrices will be collected, analyzed, document, and communicated. By if in the requirement allocation workshop, I know that in 5 days has been gone, only 10% or 15% requirement gathering has been completed. You have to be communicate to the customer immediately, so that it should not come to us. So maybe in some companies like where I worked as a BA, we do this reporting every day. मॉर्निंग में हमारा एजेंडा होता था कि हमें ये 8 या 10 रिक्वायरमेंट डिस्कस करनी है कस्टमर से। शाम को देखते थे कि हमने कितनी कर ली और कितनी रह गई और क्यों रह गई। डिपेंडेंसी थी, ये पहली रिक्वायरमेंट बहुत टाइम ले लिया, कस्टमर को क्लैरिटी नहीं थी, हम क्लियर नहीं थे, बिजनेस कॉल आ गया था, अर्जेंट कॉल था, नहीं हो पाया। तो ये सब चीजें आपको यहाँ पर देखनी पड़ती हैं। हाँ बोलिए सूरज।
ये वीकली कॉल रहेगा या डेली स्टैंड अप के लिए?
इट्स ऑल अबाउट यू।
वी हैव टू डिसाइड।
यू हैव टू बी डिसाइड। वीकली रखोगे तो बेटर है, क्योंकि डेली स्टैंड अप्स होते हैं इन द डेवलपमेंट फेज। और अगर आप डेली रखोगे तो इट इज नॉट मच यूजफुल, बिकॉज आपके पास एक दिन में कितना चेंज हो इतना आइडिया नहीं मिल पाएगा। वीक में आपके पास 50 रिक्वायरमेंट हो गए, आपके पास डेटा मिल जाएगा एनालाइज करने के लिए। तो वो चीजें कोई मिड ऑफ द वीक रखता है, कोई वीक में 2 बार रखता है, एक मंडे को, एक फ्राइडे को, एक ट्यूसडे को, थर्सडे को। सो इट टोटली डिपेंड कि मुझे ये रिक्वायरमेंट, ये मुझे मैट्रिसेस कब डिस्कस करने हैं ये। ठीक है। सो to do that part, as I say, collect, analyze, store and report this thing. Now the question comes, how and what task involved in that? Number 1 task is determine the project metrics. आपका गोल भी प्रोजेक्ट से अलाइन होना चाहिए और आपका मैट्रिसेस भी प्रोजेक्ट से अलाइन होनी चाहिए, right? So in this they are saying that the task will be enable BA to identify the document the necessary project matrices. It will ensure that all the measurement will be collected and reported appropriate stakeholder. हो सकता है कि आपके SOW में ही मेंशन किया गया हो कि रिक्वायरमेंट गैदरिंग में जो रिपोर्टिंग होगी वो कितने टाइप की होगी। पाई चार्ट्स होंगे, बार ग्राफ्स होंगे, परसेंटेज होगा, ट्रेंड होगा, all the things. But it is on the project level, not on the product level. Typical project matrices must include number of hours spent on the standard task. वेरी मच इंपॉर्टेंट। भाई पता है स्टैंडर्ड टास्क क्या है कि मुझे डॉक्यूमेंटेशन लिखने में 5 घंटे चाहिए होते हैं। दिस इज माय स्टैंडर्ड टास्क नाउ। नंबर ऑफ डिफेक्ट्स टेस्टेड पर आवर, बेसिकली इट इज फॉर द प्रोजेक्ट मेजर पर्सपेक्टिव, बिकॉज इट इज अ प्रोजेक्ट मैट्रिक्स, but something you can take in your bucket as well, like for this one, number of efforts hour per standard task. अब रिक्वायरमेंट गैदरिंग में वर्कफ्लो बनाने का मेरे पास एक स्टैंडर्ड टास्क है कि भाई हर रिक्वायरमेंट का वर्कफ्लो बनेगा ही बनेगा। सो दैट इज वन ऑफ योर metric will be there, which is be coming from the project perspective. It says a suggestion for the BA to be asked question, what is our goal and how do we measure the attainment of this goal and what measure need to be checked the attainment. सेम एक ही बात को गोल गोल घुमाया हुआ है कि बॉस हमें करना क्या है ये बताओ, उसको मेजर कैसे करना है, उस मेजरमेंट को चेक कैसे करना है। भाई मेरा ट्रिप यहां से दिल्ली का ट्रिप कैसा रहा, मेरा गोल क्या है, मुझे यहां से दिल्ली जाना है। अब मेरा वो जो गोल है वो मैं कैसे मेजर करूंगा और उसको मेजर करने के लिए मुझे क्या चेक चाहिए। गोल है मुझे यहां से दिल्ली जाना, ठीक है। हाउ टू डू मेजर, मैं अपने डिफरेंट पैरामीटर्स देखूंगा, ट्रेवल टाइम क्या था, कैब कैसी थी, ये सब चीजें, ठीक है। और उसके बाद उसी के पैरामीटर्स को मैं चेक करूंगा यहाँ पर। हाँ कैब तो बढ़िया थी, लेकिन अगर दूसरी कैब हो तो ज्यादा जल्दी पहुंच जाते। फ्लाइट बहुत अच्छी थी, खाना भी बढ़िया था, क्योंकि मुझे पैरामीटर चेक करना है। अब आप उसमें भी नेक्स्ट लेवल जाते हो, फूड में भी वेज में था, नॉन वेज में था, ड्रिंक्स कैसी थी, स्नैक्स कैसे थे, वो सब चीजें आपको आप यहाँ पर कर सकते हो. बट वन पॉइंट इज क्लियर, इट शुड बी अलाइन विद द प्रोजेक्ट मैट्रिक्स. ये अपने मर्जी की मैट्रिक्स नहीं होंगी यहाँ पर. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट इफ आई कम हियर, डिटरमाइन द प्रोडक्ट मैट्रिक्स. जो जिस पर आप काम कर रहे हैं, आपका प्रोडक्ट जो है, जो रिक्वायरमेंट गैदरिंग आप कर रहे हो इस प्रोडक्ट के लिए, उसकी मैट्रिक्स को आपको मेजर करना है. ठीक है. अगेन यहाँ पर सैंपल्स देना थोड़ा सा मुश्किल है. मैं एक बार बुक में भी चेक करता हूँ कुछ मिलता है प्रोडक्ट मैट्रिक करके. लेट्स सी. ये प्रोडक्ट मैट्रिक्स ऐसे ढूंढना मुश्किल हो जाएगा, बट इसमें होगा कुछ. डिटरमाइन द प्रोडक्ट मैट्रिक्स. सो इन दिस व्हाट आई एम सेइंग, determining the effective let me little bit this thing. Determine effective product matrix will demand a detailed and disciplined process. भाई आप अपने प्रोडक्ट में क्या मेजर करने वाले हो? In my product, in my travel from Bombay to Delhi, I cannot measure each and everything. I want to measure a specific set only. आपका गोल क्या है? अगर आप unnecessary, अब देखो प्रॉब्लम क्या होता है when we kick off any project and it has been started, client say I need this report, I need that report, I need this plan imkana, but after 2 or 3 months all the reports become irrelevant, only 1 or 2 stay in the picture. ठीक है, इसको इसी में मर्ज कर देते हैं, इसी को यूज कर लेंगे. So it is required to be do the detailed and disciplined process. And what question you'll be getting from the product matrix? How my product is behaving. Your defect rates कितने हैं? भाई अगर defect rates heavy हैं, इसका मतलब आपका requirement clear नहीं है, आपकी टीम अच्छी नहीं है, डेवलपमेंट टीम अच्छी नहीं है, possibly design is not good. Then you have to be see that how I can measure the design part. डिजाइन तो ये बना रहे हैं, 2-3 साल वाले लोग बना रहे हैं. There is no approval on the top. There is no architect on the top for giving it and saying yes, it has been corrected. Fine. So what they're saying, when you're doing the product matrices, you have to be take these things in the picture. Select a small set of metrics initially and edit to the very carefully as needed. ऐसा नहीं है कि आप 500 के ऊपर एनालिसिस कर दो, नहीं. Take it 50 or 30, 40, 50 set ऐसा. Effort to collect and report must be less than their value. Very much important. I'll give you one live example of this part. I was working for a client and they says, Atul, I need a report in ServiceNow. I said, okay, boss, हाँ reporting होती है, हो जाएगा, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. I said, okay, let's have a workshop for this. He said, okay. That person put 3-day workshop. I said, reporting के लिए कौन इतना रखता है? चलो ठीक है, but it fine. I go there and they give us the overview of the report first. What that report do specifically. It is some financial reports. Okay, a lot of calculation with a lot of business line of business are there, multiple teams are there, that part. Okay, half day gone, still the introduction is going on of the report. Okay, full day gone about the introduction only. Next day we start discussing on the calculation part. He says that in this particular Excel, they are preparing the report in the Excel sheet. In this says, they say, Atul, we are be doing 10 sheets in our reporting part. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I said, okay. In every sheet, approximately 3 to 4 sections are differently available, which they are getting data from some other Excel sheets. And on that Excel, when they're getting the data, on the top of that, they're doing some manual corrections as well, some manual values as well. Once the one section has been done, the input go to the next sheet and process goes. Second day go in the same only, just to understand that part. Third day, half is done, and now it's come to us for the question answer. Definitely question answer we are doing in the beginning as well, and in the middle as well. But at the last, I asked one question in the last of the timings. I said, tell me, Mr. X, how much time you use this report in a year? Bola, I use this report only in the once in a year. That is again on the year ending in between 25th of March till the 31st of March. I said, okay, good. I said, how much time you spend to create this report? Well, now everything is automated. We just get the data. It takes approximately 1 day for me. Max 1 day because I'm experienced holder now. Okay, good. Now thing come, if I implement that report in service now. Okay. I said what it was, it will take more than 2 to 3 months for me. First point, I'm giving high level estimates. 3 months for me, first point. Second thing, I cannot bring all the report which you show me in the service now. I can give you the last part or maybe the first part, not the middle part, because it's required the manual intervention. Okay, now you see the value you want to be achieved is costing more than the value. So in this case also, when you're preparing any report, make sure the report time should be less. It should not be like you are getting the time sort of the 1 minute for the presentation, but you're doing to do that part 1 minute presentation, you're taking 1 day to prepare that report. Very important point. Generally, we create a lot of reports which taking a lot of time and at last did not serve any value to us. Metrics must not be used as a personal evaluation. यानी आप अपने आप को evaluate नहीं कर रहे इसमें. No, कि मैं कैसा BA हूं. नहीं, ऐसा कभी नहीं होता. Matrices done on the activities level. Keep no secret, share the data. Define the data and the formula as used. Trends are much more significant. Instead of creating the report in the list view, better create a report in the graphs, pie charts, trend, percentage, scorecards, heat map, pivot table. That will more good. And at last, understand that matrix may be initially threatening to the many team members. हाई मेरी रिपोर्ट में तो ऐसा जा रहा है, ये मेरे ऊपर कैसा करेगा? It should not be the case actually. Now in the beginning when I start working with the timesheet of the company timesheet for the this thing hours, we fill the project timesheet as well. And in the project timesheet, it is say how much time you spend on the defect, how much time you spend on the documentation, how much time you spend on the development, how much spend on the meetings. So we are worried to be put everything in the meetings. But my role says 8 hours will be going in the meeting only. But if I put 8 hours in the meeting, my manager say, hey, what do you do in the meetings? Yeah, tell me. So it is a threatening for many team members. So we have to be clear to the team that guys, if you share the correct data, it will help me. In our sprint retrospective meetings, this is one of the major area where we say that in this week I spend 50% to 70% my time on the meetings. There's a feature available in Microsoft Outlook called the vision briefing something is there, or Microsoft briefing something is there. I got that email every week. And I was surprised when I saw this. Generally, I ignored it, but this time the content was very interesting. That report says, that email says that Atul, last week 50% time you spend on the meetings. Now can you imagine someone is doing a metrics for me without telling me as well? So now it is important for us to be understand that what to do, how to do, and what metrics to be required. Now your homework is that requirement allocation, documentation, analysis. You had to be search at least five metrics so that you can evaluate that part and you can build a report on the top of that. I will ask that question tomorrow. Don't worry. My habit is the same. I put a question, I forget, but I remember that I have a question as well, which I will going to be asked in any day to you. So now your homework is that you have to find out that what are the product matrices for you as per the requirement, as per your maybe your process, maybe in your day-to-day routine life, the work you're doing. Let's have a matrix on the top of that. Just remove the project name or the team's name or the user's name, but let's have a matrix around that part. Clear till this point? Any doubt? Any question?
All clear.
All clear. Good. Suraj.
Yeah, so in the initial phase of any project, we have depends matrices, and later on the client comes with some more requirements. Will the matrices also get changed, or we have to continue with the same?
See, matrix need to be changed now भाई. अब आप फर्स्ट क्लास से आप 10th क्लास में आ गए तो आपकी मैट्रिक्स चेंज होंगी ना डेफिनेटली. More the project get into the long run, your matrices definitely will be changed. Definitely it will be changed. ऐसा नहीं
that will be documented.
Yes, definitely document. क्यों नहीं document होगा? वो सारा document होगा. Without documentation, how you will do? That is must. और ये आपको क्लाइंट को भी बताना पड़ता है, बॉस अब रिक्वायरमेंट्स चेंज हो रही हैं, स्पेसिफिकेशन चेंज हो रही है, स्कोप चेंज हो रहा है. आई एम एडिंग दीज थिंग्स एज वेल इन द रिपोर्टिंग. करेक्ट?
So everything will be documented. Scope,
everything will be documented. आप ये what do you think that these reports will be done and only by you? No, these reports will be discussed with the customer as well. You have to be tell that I'm going to measure the activities in these sections, in these matrices. He will say yes. Maybe customer say add one more point. No, remove this point. So that भाई आप मेजर करके रिपोर्ट कैसे करोगे? अदरवाइज आप उसको नहीं कस्टमर को नहीं बताओगे कि मैं क्या मेजर कर रहा हूँ. Right? Teacher जब when the teacher take a test, it is not for the teacher benefit. It is a student benefit. So that she or he can tell to the management, to the principal, to your parents that how you're performing now. In the 3 months, let's say the session has been started. In the 3 months, the report or the matrix will be little different. After 3 months, the matrix will be little different. By 3 महीने में आपका communication skill में नहीं measure कर सकता था, आपका बिहेवियर में नहीं मेजर कर सकता, बट 6 months में आपका वो मैंने मेजर करना शुरू किया. So that is a matrix now for you. Right?
Like a probation period.
Sorry?
Like our employment probation period जैसे होता है.
Correct. ऐसा right? बिल्कुल सही. ठीक है.
अच्छा, रिपोर्ट एक्सेल में बनाते हैं हम लोग, मतलब majority of the time.
It depends, Hitesh. Excel, presentation, any Jira tool, ServiceNow, Remedy, any tool you want, you can do that part. Because for the matrices, the main point is that data. How to collect the data, where to collect the data, that is important. Presentation तो आप कागज पे बना के भेजोगे तो भी चल जाएगा. Okay, तो वो चीजें हैं. Then collect the project metrics. Simple, जो हमने देखा determine करो, उसके बाद उसको collect करो. Now, when you collect the project matrices, same you have to collect the product metrics. And the question you asked Suraj, reporting कैसे रहता है? Reporting यहाँ पर आइएगा. Daily, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, how detailed the report should be. Who should receive this metrics? ये वो वाला एरिया है. तो मतलब जो हमने चार पॉइंट्स हमने यहाँ देखे थे इसमें, collect, analyze, store and report. So the first part is that determine करो कि हमें करना क्या है. Then in the second phase we are saying collect करो product metrics को. The task will be enable the BA to be collect the identified and agreed product metrics. मतलब जो आपने पिछले स्टेप में, पिछले टास्क में डिटरमाइन किया, उसको कलेक्ट करने की बारी आई है कि what I thought and what are the actuals now. मेरा एस्टिमेशन था कि 100% हो जाएगा, but actual says it is only 5 or 10% or 15%. But remember, don't collect over data as well. कि भाई मुझे 50 का करना था, मैंने 500 इकट्ठे कर दी. नहीं, that will impact your reporting part. That is the reason they always say relevant. Accurately collected the data for analysis and reporting. So once you collect, then you go for the reporting part. And reporting can be done daily, weekly, and other things will be there. So in the 3 steps, we have to be complete that part. But there, see, if you notice, they are always saying that boss work on the project metrics as well. This task is typically completed by the all team members, often disrespected weekly task for entering their timesheets, which we discussed just now. कि ये बताओ आपने वीक में कितना टाइम स्पेंड किया? But we do 8-9 घंटे में लिख देते हैं. But if you want to be do little more drill down, in your timesheet you have a different sections: meetings, call, design, documentation, development, no work, client dependency, so that I can get the data and I can prepare the report here and then I can present it. So once you have the reporting, then you can go for the project metrics. Same thing. In my case, it can be different, product can be different, but in the project, it will be time, cost, resources, features, quality, all these things will be there. And the best what BA box says, they try to follow the trend analysis, that how the trend was earlier and how the trend is now. I'm going upward or I'm going the downwards here. Clear till this point? Suraj, Hitesh.
Yes, Atul, I'm clear.
Okay, good. Now, once this requirement, sorry, this metrics part has been done, now the question comes, if anything get changed in the later on part. You already kick off. But अब customer कहता नहीं है मैं requirement change करने क्योंकि मेरे पास ना project ये वो आ गया है, business requirement आ गया नया. So now this concept is called the manage the requirement. ऐसा देखो, मैंने आपको बोला यार, let's see like example. This is Atul, I'm traveling to one of my cousin's marriage. Fine, that is a initial setup, but initial scope which we discuss. You started your journey and someone say, oh no, sorry, something bad happened. You have to go that house as well first. Now you have to be manage the requirement changes. You still go to manage, but you have to be change your plan now. And what this is, in this particular phase, we have 3 major areas. Plan the requirement change, क्योंकि requirement कभी भी change हो सकती है. It is not like that कि SOW में जो लिखा वही होगा. Right? Like if take example, business was going very good in the Europe. Suddenly this Brexit come into the picture and everybody says the people who are working from outside Europe, they cannot access my system. They have to log into the VDI or VPN or maybe remote desktop only, then they can access. आप requirement gathering कर रहे हो, but बीच में काम फंस गया. I have to build a solution for this as well now. So ये चीजें होती हैं. And what tasks are required here? Tasks determine who should be involved in handling requirement changes. Is it BA work or is it project manager work? Who is involved? Handling है यहाँ पर कि भाई customer ने बोला, let's say example, सूरज गया requirement gathering के लिए. Customer ने बोला सूरज को नहीं, हमें ये requirement discuss नहीं करना. I want to build something on the change management first. He was not prepared. He cannot say no immediately. He says, okay, give me some time, let me check. Now the question comes to whom he will check, to whom he will involve. The second says define how requirement change will be administrated and communicated. पिक्चर में एंट्री कैसे होगी अगर रिक्वायरमेंट चेंज हो रहा है, और कम्युनिकेट कौन किसको कब कैसे करेगा. Right? That is, it is always said when you as a BA work with the client, if you're committing anything, better you document that. If customer committing anything, better to document that. इसलिए minutes of meeting का concept चलता है. उसमें attendees लिखे जाते हैं, उसमें action लिखे जाते हैं, उसमें dates लिखी जाती हैं. To communicate कि बॉस कौन कब कैसे कहां करेगा इस काम को. Now, if you do this part, it's come that understand the requirement of a change. कि चेंज हो क्यों रहा है, चेंज हो क्या रहा है, आइडेंटिफाई इशू एंड द चेंजेस, and then participate in the impact analysis. Boss, if my customer says, Atul, can you send a BA for the change management instead of the incident management? I need to be identify why you're changing now. We already signed off, everything has been done, everybody is ready for the workshop, agenda has been published, stakeholders has been ready. Now what, why? And if I do the change, what is the impact here? Is it on the costing? It is on the efforts, it is on the schedule. What I need to be do that, what impact I have to be face here. And at last, when you get this part, you have to be document this thing. Create a formal change request. It is not like that we are going and just making a change in the SOW. No. SOW will be same. You have to be create a new version of SOW with the new requirements here. New scoping part there. And define the links to the other requirements. जहां जहां वो requirement change हुए हैं वहां आपको वो link add करना पड़ेगा. And believe me, as per practical experience, we do this thing, but we not do this thing. हाँ, कस्टमर ने बोला करना तो कर देंगे. अरे कस्टमर ने बोला करना तो कर देंगे, बट वाई? इवन मैं तो बोलता हूँ कि हम ये भी नहीं करते, हम इसमें से कुछ भी नहीं करते. बोलो ना हाँ ठीक है कर देंगे यार, हो जाएगा, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. बट वी आर नॉट डॉक्यूमेंटिंग दैट एनीवेयर. दैट इज द बैड थिंग. दैट इज अ रॉन्ग प्रैक्टिस. नाउ हाउ द स्टेप्स वर्क, एनालाइज द चेंज रिक्वेस्ट. टास्क, conduct the fact finding of obtain greater understanding of requirement change. भाई क्या चेंज होने वाला है, उसका डिटेल पॉइंट्स आपको लिखने पड़ते हैं. फ्रॉम द ऑपरेशनल पर्सपेक्टिव, व्हाट इश्यूज यू कैन फेस इफ यू चेंज द रिक्वायरमेंट नाउ. टाइमलाइंस हो सकता है, स्किल सेट हो सकता है, टीम मेरे पास रेडी नहीं है. many things can be there. हो सकता है प्रोजेक्ट स्क्रैप हो जाए कि रिक्वायरमेंट चेंज हो गया, हमारे पास कैपेबिलिटी नहीं है. All the things will be there. You have to be analyze the change request, then categorize and the prioritize requirement. Determine how critical this change to the success of the project. Customer ने बोला भाई मुझे इंसिडेंट की वजह चेंज दे दो. You go and ask boss, it was in the phase 2, why was the phase 1? Tell me. Or maybe in the incident, in the change only, they bring a new requirement now. So you have to be categorized and the prioritize. As a BA, I saw many examples like that, and we have deprioritized that. नहीं होगा ये, because from the business side, I'm not finding any good value here to go for the same. And if I implement this requirement now, it will take more time than the late if I do it later on, because I'm already working on some solution which can be base for the your requirement. So I do that part. And you have to be calculating the cost and the development efforts as well. And at last, submit the change for approval. कि बॉस कस्टमर ने मुझे ये बोला था, अब ये बोला है, give me a sign off so that I can go ahead for the same part. This is what to manage the requirement changes. Make a practice. If anything coming new to you, once you've done your requirement gathering or during requirement gathering, you have to be manage that requirement change. You have to be document that very carefully. I done in one of the in many of the workshops. और ये होता है because customer even don't know in the beginning what actually they want. When you start a discussion with them, then they come to know, oh, I want this thing as well. I want this thing as well. I want this thing as well. Can you build this thing with me in this area? So those things happen actually. Okay, clear till this point, guys. Suraj and Hitesh.
Yes, Atul. Okay.
Great. Okay. Now with this, we have done our this major topic. Okay. Now we'll go to the next phase or the next chapter. It's called the requirement allocation. Little bit we will discuss today. Okay. Now if I go here, now what is the thing? Boss, planning has been done. Now it is time of the execution, to kick off, to start. What it says, the requirement planning and the management activities. अच्छा तो पुरानी स्लाइड का था, सॉरी. हाँ, ये चलो ठीक है, इसको डिस्कस करते हैं. The requirement planning and the management activities identify and describe. जो हमने पीछे डिस्कस किया, what are the stakeholders we needed. The requirement documentation and the deliverables that will be created. ये हमने डिस्कस किया पिछले वाले में. Appropriate techniques to elect the requirement that will be employed. हमने डिस्कस किया. Techniques मतलब कि it will be workshop. मतलब इसको डिटेल अभी हम डिस्कस करेंगे. It will be workshop, brainstorming, focus group, documentation. What type of technique we're going to be used. The requirement traceability strategy that will follow. Remember the traceability metrics and requirement attribute that will be captured and the output of the requirement allocation. Okay. In this particular chapter, in this particular area, we are going on the techniques, but before that we're going to be discussed that how this requirement allocation actually work. Easy है ये देखने में बहुत easy है, हाँ तो लग तो बहुत easy है, but before that a lot of work need to be done. What is the input for requirement allocation? What are the goal? What are the principles? What are the guidelines for the requirement allocation? And then what will be the output from the requirement allocation? So now if I go here, before that we have to find out some major skills. Collecting and assessing the information. आप जो सुन रहे हो, जो समझ रहे हो, उसको गैदर करो, उसको असेस करना है आपको. ये नहीं कि मेरा काम है बस कागजों में भरा और दे दिया आगे, नहीं, ऐसा नहीं. Being a BA, you have to be assess that information. The information, the requirement, the need customer is telling, I need to be assessed in my mind on the multiple parameters, technically, feasibility part, financially, costing, time bounding. I'm able to do that part or not. That is one of the basic need of a BA for this in this area. Interviewing. I love this part. It was an interview. I call it as a POCing. You had to be POC to the customer until a point where customer say, guys, yes, that's the what I need actually. जो उसने हाई लेवल वर्ड शुरू किए थे, ही कम टू द ग्राउंड लेवल वर्ड्स नाउ. ये नहीं कि बैठ जाओ, हाँ सर आज आपका इंटरव्यू लेते, नहीं. In the discussions, in this particular area, when he's giving you the information and speaking the information, you have to find out the words and to get the POC to him or her to get more information for a requirement. Facilitating the collaborative sessions with multiple stakeholders, technical teams, architects, solution designers, सबके साथ आपको करना है, sessions करने हैं. Observation. This thing important when you go for a workshop, there are the 5 or 7 people are or maybe sitting there from the business part. You have to be observe them very carefully to identify that who is expert in which area, who is giving me a more accurate and the correct information, so that instead of repeating the same question again and again to the all others, let's put a right question to the right person that time. That will be done only with the observation only. Very important, resolving conflicts. Very, 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 very important. In a workshop, in requirement gathering workshop, there is a number of times when the conflicts happen. आप जो कह रहे हैं, the customer is not understanding properly. Customer जो कह रहा है उसका अलग the next stakeholder is not agreeing on that part, which creating a negative environment in your allocation process. You had to be resolved that conflicts with a win-win situation कि आपका काम भी हो जाए और सामने वाला गुस्सा भी ना हो, बुरा भी ना माने. Eliminating the root cause of conflicts कि root cause क्यों हो रहा है, क्योंकि एक ऐसा पर्सन जो चाहता नहीं कि हम गो लाइव जाए, या ऐसा पर्सन कोई चाहता नहीं कि हम सर्विस नो यूज करें. You have to be identified. Now how you will identify? By the observation. यार वो जो वहां बैठा था ना सबसे पहली चेयर पे, वो अच्छा नहीं है यार, वो he is not a positive, he always give a negative thoughts कि ऐसे नहीं होता, वैसे नहीं होता, ये कैसे हो जाएगा, वो कैसे हो जाएगा, these things. क्योंकि if there is a more conflicts, you are gone. अगर लोग ही आपको साथ नहीं देंगे तो आप कैसे काम करोगे? Thinking abstractly, finding and leveraging the patterns. एक पैटर्न बना के उस पर काम करो, ये नहीं कुछ भी मन में आया बोल दिया. There was a discussion going with the client. I was checking my WhatsApp, and after that I said, "Oh, sorry guys, can you repeat it again?" No, you have to think abstractly, means in the context you have to think. Remember the BACCA model. Context should be very clear. Writing business documentation. A skill required. What to write, how to write, how to articulate the words which given by the stakeholder to me. And at last, listening and the oral communication. Better listener is required here. That is the thing. Clear till this point, guys? Yes, Suraj, Hitesh.
Yes, sir. Clear.
Okay, good. So let's stop the class here only. Okay, and we will continue the session on tomorrow. Let me stop the recording. I'll take a quick attendance.